This is the W5FC repeater, PL110.9.
Mr. Chairman, I need to make myself very clear. If we uplink now, Skynet will be in control of your military.
But you'll be in control of Skynet, right?
That is correct, sir.
Skynet.
Does anyone need to use a repeater before we begin the 9 p.m. Skynet? This is Whiskey Bravo 5, Oscar Zulu Lima. My name is Brenda. I will be your net control for this session of the DARC Skynet. Skynet is a weekly net called every Saturday night at 9 p.m. concerning the subject of astronomy. Our purpose is to help amateurs become more familiar with the nighttime sky and daytime sky astronomy and space in general. This net is open to all amateurs interested in this topic. and we encourage your participation, comments, and suggestions for this net. Stations with priority or emergency traffic may enter the net at any time using the pro sign break with your call sign. Is there any emergency or priority traffic? This is a directed net. Please do not transmit without direction from net control. That would be me, and stations are reminded to ID at the end of your transmissions. This weekly net operates on 146.88 megahertz with a PL tone of 110.9. Check-ins via Echolink are also possible using the W5 FC-R station ID or Echolink node 37247. Tonight's topics: astronomy charts, pictures, and live audio and video links are available online. Go to w5fc.org right now for the complete list. Remember to tell others about this popular net. All amateur radio operators are welcome. You need not be a member of any amateur radio club to participate. The net is 90 minutes long and is structured in several parts. 1. General announcements. 2. Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas events, where and when you can look through a telescope. 3. National Space Society events. 4. Discussion topic of the evening. 5. What's up? 6. Space exploration and space history. 7. Constellation of the week. 8. Space launches of the week. 9. Recent astronomical discoveries. 10. Visible satellite passages over the next couple of days. 11. Astronomical Q&A. And 12. 73 round. All amateurs licensed to transmit on this frequency are invited to check in. So let's start with low power and short time check-ins. Please come now with your call sign, name, and where you're transmitting from this evening.
Kilo India 5, Juliet Charlie Mike, KI5 GCM, Thomas and Ewan.
This is Whiskey 5, Golf, Uniform Sierra, Gus, far northeast Dallas, low power.
This is Kilo Foxtrot 5, Papa Lima Lima, KF5 PLL, Huey, Richardson, short time, low power.
Golf 5, Uniform Foxtrot Romeo, Jacob Dallas, low power.
Okay, first up we have Juliet India 5. I think it's Juliet Charlie Mike and Thomas. Is that correct?
This is Kilo India 5, Juliet Charlie Mike, Thomas and Ewan.
My apologies. Kilo India 5, Juliet Charlie Mike. Thanks for joining us, Thomas. Then we have Whiskey 5, Golf Uniform Sierra Gus, Kilo Foxtrot 5, Papa Lima Lima, Huey, and Kilo, I think it's Kilo Golf 5, Uniform Foxtrot Romeo, Jacob. Please come now.
Whiskey 5, bacon, lettuce, tomato. W5, BLT, Phil, Garland.
November Tango 5, Tango Mike, Tony and Dallas.
This is Alpha Golf, Niner Sierra Golf, Antonio in Dallas.
Kilo Echo 5, India Charlie X-Ray, Tom, Lewisville.
Kilo Foxtrot 5, Zulu, Bravo, Lima, Bill, Farmers Branch.
Alpha 5, Alpha Hotel, Robert Richardson.
This is Kilo Golf 5, Echo India Uniform, David, frozen in St. Paul, Texas.
This is Whiskey Bravo number 4, Mike Foxtrot India, WV4MFI, Ted Dallas, low power.
Kilo 5, Mike, Charlie Delta, Cody and Dallas, low power.
Okay, that's a hefty group, a bunch of check-ins. So we have Whiskey 5, Bravo, Lima Tango, Phil. November Tango 5, Tango Mike, Tony. Alpha Golf 9er, Sierra Golf, Antonio. Kilo Echo 5, India Charlie X-Ray, Tom. Kilo Foxtrot 5, Z Bravo Lima, Bill. Alpha Alpha 5, Alpha Hotel, Robert. Kilo Golf 5, Echo India Uniform, David. Whiskey Bravo 4, Mike Foxtrot India, Ted. And Kilo 5, Mike Charlie Delta, Cody. Let's call for some Echolink check-ins.
This is Kilo 5, Kilo Tango X-Ray, Kelly in Weslaco, down in South Rio Grande Valley, Texas.
Okay, we have Kilo 5, Kilo Tango X-Ray, Kelly. All right, any more check-ins from any mode, please come now.
November 5, Oscar Foxtrot, flight of
And this is Clay's neighbor, KF5, JHA, Chaz, Mesquite of planet Earth, of course.
Kilo Juliet 5, Bravo India Sierra. The name is Mark in Old East Dallas.
Okay, we have November 5, Oscar Foxtrot, Clay. Kilo Foxtrot 5, Juliet Hotel Alpha, Chaz. Kilo Juliet 5, I think it's Bravo India Sierra, Mark. Is that correct, Mark?
Yes, it is. The name is Mark. KJ5 BIS.
Okay, we also have Kilo Golf 5, Z Charlie Tango, David in Frisco. All right, Thanks to everybody for checking in. We'll get more check-ins as we go. Okay, so general announcements. Do we have any general announcements for this evening's nest? This can be ham, astronomical, space, or of general interest to licensed hams. Please come now.
November Tango 5, Tango Mike.
November Tango 5, Tango Mike. Go ahead, Tony.
Whew, it's cold out. I'm still outside protecting plants, but this is not the last net of the evening. If you're inside and warm, we have Skynet coming up at about 10:30, plus or minus 5 minutes. Tonight's movie is The Space Between Us, a romantic science fiction drama from 2017. And I'd like to remind everyone that with this cold weather, it's a great time to experiment with baking. We have our second helping of ham fixins coming up on this repeater on Monday at 7. And I know I'm going to be playing with my hardtack recipe and can maybe report on that, because why not run the oven when it's 10 degrees out? NT5TM.
Oh, interesting. I'll be definitely interested to hear about that. I'm thinking, I might want to experiment with baking some hard crackers also. Just sort of interesting. And real hardtack doesn't have any flavor, but you could make it flavored. Okay. The AMSET Radio Amateur Satellite Group has 2 nets available to Dallas residents. On Tuesday evenings at 8 p.m. Central, you'll need Echolink installed and be registered. You can find the net under Groups and AMSET. Also, a live audio link is available on their website, amsetnet.com. This net originates in Houston, Texas. Dallas AMSET Net East, Dallas-Fort Worth, Texas, is every Tuesday at 8 p.m. on this repeater, 146.88 megahertz, PL 110.9 megahertz, Tuesdays. Tom, N5HYP is net control. All are welcome to check in AMSET East night. AMSET Net West is every Wednesday at 9 p.m. on the Arlington repeater, 147.14 megahertz, PL 110.9 megahertz, positive offset. Then the DARC hosted nets, Mondays, first week, ham fixins, second week, MCOM 101, third week, ham fixins, fourth week, Geek Net, fifth week. If we told you what it is, it wouldn't be a surprise. On-air participation is encouraged. Tuesdays, AMSET East, 8 p.m., Q&As, info, and news for amateur satellites. Fridays, Search City Simulation, 8 p.m. Learn about emergency radio communications via CERT-trained amateur radio operators. Melissa, KI5GRH, is usually the net control. Visit the most disaster-prone city in the universe every Friday. CERT City, all are welcome. Saturdays, TechNet, 7 to 8 p.m., and of course, Skynet. First and third Sundays, Dallas Amateur Radio Club meeting on the air, or MODA. Daily, we have the ARR net. That's the National Traffic System Training Net, every night at 6:30 p.m. Central. All are welcome to check in to any or all of these nets. So, we have another net after this, what we call the Afterglow movie. I think I'll call on Tom, KE5I6, to read this since he wrote it. Can you do that, please, Tom?
Oh, sure, Brenda, I can do that. And Tony gave you the movie info. I'll give you the synopsis. Here it is. The man tapped his finger on the executive's desk repeatedly. He was desperate, and everyone looked at him with concern. They all thought the same thing. Could he come up with the next new Hallmark holiday movie? This was a really important question and deserved a thoughtful answer. After all, Hallmark spent the last 25 years making the same 2 movies. A holiday film where a broken family gets back together in time for Christmas dinner, or someone beautiful and in a romantic relationship that has to die from a terminal disease 10 minutes before rolling credits over a picture of the dead person's body. The creative had an idea exclaiming, "I have an idea!" They win. We'll simply take every script we've already produced and add the words "in space" with an exclamation point at the end. Someone blurted out, "I think that will work. I can get Gary Oldman to play the lead. He's in between crazy roles, so I think he's a shoo-in." Join us for the outer space romantic film, The Space Between Us, from 2017, tonight at 10:30 p.m. Now, of course, you don't have any time to watch the movie. If you've already seen it, it really wasn't all that bad, but it does have some glaring technical errors that we will tear apart limb from limb. That's tonight at 10:30. Back to you, Brendan, KD5, ICM.
Thank you, Tom. I did watch that movie last night, and I'll have to say you just absolutely nailed it. Okay, Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas events, where and when you can look through a telescope. And this would be a really good night because it's so cold. It's just one of the cruel things about life is that cold nights are great for looking at the stars. I'm going to call on Chaz, KF5JHA, to tell us about the TAS Club meeting. Please go now, Chaz.
Well, thank you, Brenda. Good evening, everyone. This is Chaz, KF5JHA, and Bob the cat is close by. Hope he doesn't want to walk on the keep in a few minutes. The next Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas Club meeting will be held on Friday, January the 26th, and the meeting will be held at 7:30 p.m. in person at the University of Texas at Dallas, and also held on Zoom. The featured speaker is Ken Sherrock from the Denver Astronomical Society. He'll be taking us on a virtual tour of Chamberlain Observatory. Now, Saturday night public observing sessions continue. Skynet was picked to be on Saturday nights, so there'd be an opportunity for live reports from the Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas observing stations. And it's clear outside tonight. Tonight is the second Saturday, and the second Saturday of the month, the stargazing is held at Frisco. I just chatted with David. He checked in over Echolink from Frisco, and he said he's not there. He's staying at home, and he's warm. But if there is anybody at Frisco that would like to make a report, come now with your call sign. David and the rest of you out there that are inside instead of outside, Tony, I'm sorry you're outside protecting plants, but I hope everyone else stays warm. Check with the TAS website, texasastro.org, for up-to-date information and details about meetings and public observing sessions. And that's back to you, Brenda. This is KF5JHA, keeping warm inside.
Thank you, Chaz. And this is WB50ZL. Next, the National Space Society events. Bill, N5BB, you haven't checked in, but are you around? Okay, he doesn't seem to be here, and I don't have much in the text here. Just the National Space Society of North Texas has an active Facebook page. Just type National Space Society of North Texas into the search box and request access. You'll receive meeting reminders and club activities. And I can tell you tomorrow's scheduled meeting is now going to become no longer in person, but a virtual meeting. And I think if you want the link to sign into it, you can contact Bill in 5BB. Perhaps he'll join us later and can give us some more information. Do we have any more check-ins? Okay, next is the discussion topic of the evening, and that is presented by me. So the title of this is NASA's Osiris-rex team clears a hurdle to access remaining Bennu sample. Curation team members at NASA's Johnson Space Center in Houston have successfully removed the two fasteners from the sampler head that had prevented the remainder of Osiris-Rex's asteroid Bennu sample material from being accessed. I guess they forgot righty-tighty, lefty-loosey. Who knows? Anyway, they had to build a special tool. Steps are now underway to complete the disassembly of the touch-and-go sample acquisition mechanism, or TAG-SAM, the head, to reveal the rest of the rocks and dust delivered by NASA's first asteroid sample return mission. Our engineers and scientists have worked tirelessly behind the scenes for months to not only process the more than 70 grams of material we were able to access previously, but also design, develop, and test new tools that allowed us to move past this hurdle, said Eileen Stansberry, Division Chief for ARES, that's Astro Materials Research and Exploration Science, at Johnson. The innovation and dedication of this team has been remarkable. We are all excited to see the remaining treasure Osiris-rex holds. The remainder of the bulk sample will be fully visible after a few additional disassembly steps, at which point image specialists will take ultra-high resolution pictures of the sample while it still be removed and weighed, and the team will be able to determine the total mass of Bennu material captured by the mission. Curation processors paused disassembly of the TAG-SAM head hardware in mid-October after they discovered that 2 of the 35 fasteners could not be removed with the tools approved for use inside the Osiris-rex glove box. In response, 2 new multi-part tools were designed and fabricated to support further disassembly of the TAG-SAM head. These tools include newly custom fabricated bits made from a specific grade of surgical, non-magnetic stainless steel, the hardest metal approved for use in the pristine curation glove boxes. In addition to the design challenge of being limited to curation-approved materials to protect the scientific value of the asteroid sample, these new tools also needed to function within the tightly confined space of the glove box, limiting their height, weight, and potential arc movement, said Dr. Nicole Lunning, Osiris-rex curator at Johnson. The curation team showed impressive resilience and did incredible work to get these stubborn fasteners off the TAG-SAM head so we can continue disassembly. We are overjoyed with this success. Prior to the successful removal, the team at Johnson tested the new tools and removal procedures in a rehearsal lab. After each successful test, engineers increased the assembly torque values and repeated the testing procedures until the team was confident the new tools would be able to achieve the torque needed while minimizing the risk of any potential damage to the TAG-SAM head or any contamination of the sample within. Despite not being able to fully disassemble the TAG-SAM head, the curation team members had already collected 2.48 ounces or 70.3 grams of asteroid material from the sample hardware, surpassing the agency's goal of bringing at least 60 grams to Earth. They have fulfilled all of the sample requests received from the Osiris-rex science team so far and have hermetically sealed some of the Bennu sample for better preservation over long time scales, e.g. multiple decades, storing some at ambient temperature conditions and others at minus 112 Fahrenheit or minus 80 degrees Celsius. Later this spring, the curation team will release a catalog of the Osiris-rex samples, which will be available to the global scientific community. Well, more about Bennu. Its name comes from the mythological Egyptian bird. All of the features on its surface are named for birds, mostly mythological birds. Bennu is an active asteroid, sporadically emitting plumes of particles and rocks. Scientists hypothesize the releases may be caused by thermal fracturing, volatile release through dehydration of thiosiliciates, pockets of subsurface water, and or meteoroid impacts. It is a potentially hazardous object that is listed on the Sentry Risk Table and has the highest cumulative rating on the Palermo Technical Impact Hazard Scale. It has a cumulative 1 in 1,750 chance of impacting Earth between 2178 and 2290, with the greatest risk being on 24 September 2182. All right, do we have any more check-ins now? Okay, I'm going to call on Chaz, KF5JHA, to present his segment, which is called What's Up? Go ahead, Chaz.
Thank you again, Brenda. This is Chaz, KF5JHA, and we call this segment of Skynet What's Up because it's all about what's going on astronomically over the next couple of weeks and maybe beyond. That was slide number 1, Slide Master. Tom is our slide master, so if you're on the video version of Skynet, you can actually watch visuals of what's going on. Slide number 2, please. On January the 11th, the moon was new. That's just a couple of days ago. Yesterday, I saw a thin crescent moon, and tonight I saw it again. So the current phase of the moon is a waxing crescent. Today, January the 13th, the moon is at perigee, which is the point in the moon's orbit that is closest to the Earth at a distance of 362,267 kilometers. On January the 17th, the first quarter phase of the moon happens. On January the 25th, the moon is full. On January the 29th, the moon is at apogee, which is the point in the moon's orbit that is furthest from the Earth at a distance of 405,777 kilometers. Slide Master, slide number 3. On January the 13th, oh, that's now, did you see it? The moon and Saturn were in conjunction in the west-southwestern evening sky. It was a pretty sight. I was able to see that. Slide Master, slide number 4. On January the 15th, the moon and Neptune will be in conjunction in the southwestern evening sky. You'll need a telescope to observe the planet Neptune. You can't see that on your own. Slide Master, slide number 5. On January the 16th, a conjunction of Venus and the minor planet Ceres will be an occurrence in the southeastern morning sky. Slide Master, slide number 6. On January the 18th, the moon and Jupiter are in conjunction, and they'll be nearly overhead in the early evening sky. Jupiter's that bright thing overhead right now. Slide Master, slide number 7. On January the 21st, the moon and the minor planet Vesta will be in conjunction in the southwestern evening sky in the constellation of Taurus, the Bull. You'll need at least a pair of binoculars or a telescope to see Vesta. I've seen Vesta with just a pair of binoculars. Of course, they were 20 by 80 binoculars, but does that matter? Now, Slide Master, slide number 8, please. Remember that we have another solar eclipse coming up in about 3 months. A solar eclipse, wait, 3 months? Yeah, 3 months. A solar eclipse is when the moon is in between the Earth and the sun, and for a few lucky people on the Earth, blocks some or part of the sun from our field of view. Slide Master, slide number 9. On April the 8th, that is the total solar eclipse for us here in North Texas. From the Brookhaven campus, the sun will be completely blocked for around 3 minutes and 20 seconds between 1:41 and 1:44 p.m. During that time, called totality, you'll be able to see stars in the sky just as if it were evening twilight. The next total solar eclipse visible from North Texas won't be until the year 2317 on July the 9th. So put that on your calendar. If you need more details about that, you can let me know. I'll be glad to share this with you at a future time. So this total solar eclipse that's happening on April the 8th is a very big deal since this only happens about once every 300 years in North Texas. By the way, the downtown hotels in Dallas have been booked for about a couple of months. You'll have to go to the suburbs to get a hotel room. Millions of people are expected to the Dallas area for this eclipse. And this is KF5JJ, and this is Skynet. Slide master, slide number 10, please. Actually, we're going to skip slide number 10. We're going to go on to slide number 11. Now, do any of you out there in Radio Land have any questions or need a fill on any information? Or do you just have a general astronomy question? Come now with your call sign if you have a question or need a fill. Okay, hearing none, we'll go to slide number 12. So as the moon waned last week, so these words for this segment of Skynet: stay safe, keep well, pray for our world. It's the only one where humans live, well, right now. And until next time, actually I'll be doing another segment of Skynet in just a few minutes. Keep looking up so you know what's up. And this is KF5JHA, sending this back to our net control. It's all yours, Brenda.
Thank you, Chaz. Next up is Space Exploration and Space History. It's brought to us tonight by Kelly, K5KTX. Are you there, Kelly? And can you read us, please?
Brenda, I'm here. This is K5KTX. Good evening, everyone. Well, NASA announced last Tuesday updates to its Artemis campaign that will establish the foundation for long-term scientific exploration at the moon, land the first woman and first person of color on the lunar surface, and prepare for human expeditions to Mars for the benefit of all. To safely carry out these missions, agency leaders are adjusting the schedules for Artemis 2 and Artemis 3 to allow teams to work through challenges associated with first-time developments, operations, and integration. NASA will now target September 2025 for Artemis 2, the first crewed Artemis mission around the moon, and September 2026 for Artemis 3, which is planned to land the first astronauts near the lunar South Pole. Artemis 4, the first mission to the Gateway lunar... Ensuring crew safety is the primary driver for the Artemis 2 schedule changes. As the first Artemis flight test with crew aboard the Orion spacecraft, the mission will test critical environmental control and life support systems with crew aboard the Orion spacecraft. The mission will test critical environmental control and life support systems required to support astronauts. NASA's testing to qualify components to keep the crew safe and ensure mission success has uncovered issues that require additional time to resolve. Teams are troubleshooting a battery issue and addressing challenges with a circuitry component responsible for air ventilation and temperature control. NASA's investigation into unexpected loss of layer pieces from the spacecraft heat shield during Artemis 1 is expected to conclude this spring. Teams have taken a methodical approach to understand the issue, including extensive sampling of the heat shield, testing, and review of data from sensors and imagery. The timeline for Artemis 3 aligns with the updated schedule for Artemis 2, ensures the agency can incorporate lessons learned from Artemis 2 into the next mission, and acknowledges development challenges experienced by NASA's industry partners. As each crewed Artemis mission increases complexity and adds flight tests for new systems, the adjusted schedule will give the providers developing new capabilities, SpaceX for the Human Landing System and Axiom Space for the next generation spacesuits, additional time for testing and any refinements ahead of the mission. In addition to the schedule updates for Artemis 2 and 3, NASA is reviewing the schedule for launching the first integrated elements of Gateway, previously planned for October 2025, to provide additional development time and better align that launch with the Artemis 4 mission in 2028. NASA also shared that it has asked both Artemis human landing system providers, SpaceX and Blue Origin, to begin applying knowledge gained in developing their systems as part of their existing contracts toward future variations to potentially deliver large cargo on later missions. So be sure to check nasa.gov for any additional updates on Artemis 2 and 3. On to space history this week, beginning with January the 7th, back in 1968, Surveyor 7 launched. It was the fifth and final spacecraft of the Surveyor series to achieve a lunar soft landing. Surveyor 2 and 4 failed upon reaching the moon. The United States landed 6 human missions on the moon between 1969 and 1972 and has sent a number of robotic probes to orbit the moon in the last 2 decades. But NASA hasn't sent a robotic lander to the lunar surface since Surveyor 7. The primary objectives of the Surveyor program were to support the crewed Apollo landings. The spacecraft did this by aiding in the development of technology for landing softly on the moon and providing information on the conditions of the surface of the moon. Surveyor 7 was the only spacecraft in this series to land in the lunar highland region, where it took more than 21,000 photos. January the 8th, in 1942, British physicist Stephen Hawking was born in Oxford, England. Hawking is most widely known for his research on black holes, which led to one of the first successful unions of the general theory of relativity and quantum mechanics. But he is also the author of many popular science books, including A Brief History of Time and The Universe in a Nutshell. He died on Pi Day, March 14, 2018. January the 9th, 1963, the Relay 1 communication satellite relayed the first television program through space, and that program was video of the unveiling of the Mona Lisa at the U.S. National Gallery of Art in Washington, D.C., carried out in cooperation with broadcasting companies in the United States and Europe. Relay 1 brought television of the event to stations in France and Great Britain. As they watched, the citizens of these countries were able to see the unveiling of the Mona Lisa painting in the National Gallery, along with the famous attendees present, such as President John F. Kennedy and French Minister of Cultural Affairs, André Malraux. The Relay 1 satellite was one of the first satellites used to test the prospect of active communication in space. It went on to transmit other significant moments in 1963, including Winston Churchill's honorary U.S. citizenship ceremony, and later carried the first trans-Pacific television signals between Japan and the United States. And it sounds like the NFL might need to learn a little lessons from the Relay 1. January the 10th, 1946. Near Belmar, New Jersey, Lieutenant Colonel John H. DeWitt, Jr. bounced a radio signal off of the moon. DeWitt, the laboratory director of the U.S. Army Signal Corps' Evans Signal Laboratory, had given his project the name Diana after the goddess of the moon. In 1940, DeWitt attempted to bounce radio signals off the moon in order to study the Earth's atmosphere. He wrote in his notebook, "It occurred to me that it might be possible to reflect ultra-short waves from the moon. If this could be done, it would open up wide possibilities for the study of the upper atmosphere. So far as I know, no one has ever sent waves off the Earth and measured their return through the entire atmosphere of the Earth." On January 10, 1946, he succeeded. The first signals were detected at 11:58 a.m., and the experiment was concluded at 12:09 p.m. when the moon moved out of the radar's range. The radio waves had taken about 2.5 seconds to travel from New Jersey to the moon and back, a distance of over 800,000 kilometers. The experiment was repeated daily over the next 3 days and on 8 more days later that month. This is K5KTX with Skynet. On January the 11th, 1962, in his State of the Union message to the Congress, President John F. Kennedy said, "With the approval of this Congress, we have undertaken in the past year a great new effort in outer space. Our aim is not simply to be first on the moon, any more than Charles Lindbergh's real aim was to be first to Paris. His aim was to develop the techniques and the authority of this country and other countries in the field of the air and the atmosphere, and our objective in making this effort, which we hope will place one of our citizens on the moon, is to develop in a new frontier of science, commerce, and cooperation the position of the United States and the free world. This nation belongs among the first to explore it, and among the first, if not the first, we shall be." Finally tonight, for astronaut birthdays, January the 7th, 1941, Frederick Gregory, who was part of Space Shuttle missions STS-51B, STS-33, 44. He was also Capcom during the Challenger disaster, and he was Deputy Administrator of NASA between 2002 and 2005. Also, January the 11th, 1975, Robert Hines, who is KI5RQT, 67 and 68 between April and October of 2022. And that's all I've got this evening. This is K5KTX.
Thanks, Kelly. This is WB5OZL. Do we have any more check-ins now? Okay, we're going to call on Chaz again, KF5JHA, and he's going to present Miss Carolyn's Constellation of the Week. Go ahead, Chaz.
Thank you, Brenda. Once again, this is Chaz, KF5JHA, and also Bob the Cat. Slide Master, slide number 13. Miss Carolyn's Constellation of the Week is named in honor of Silent Key Carolyn, KC5OZT. Carolyn contributed to Skynet each week from almost its beginning in 2012 until May of 2019, with a detailed look at one particular constellation each week. Since there are about 52 easily visible constellations in Texas throughout the year out of the 88 total number of constellations, so Miss Carolyn covered the entire sky as seen over Texas in a year. In her honor, we've continued that tradition of a constellation per week and named this segment after her. So, Miss Carolyn's Constellation of the Week this week is Taurus the Bull. Remember I talked about Taurus and a conjunction in there? Yeah, there's a connection there, isn't it? Taurus is the 17th largest constellation in the sky, occupying an area of 797 square degrees. Its name means bull in Latin. Isn't that strange? The constellation is symbolized by the bull's head, not the whole bull. Yeah, it's not a whole bull, just the head of the bull. It's one of the oldest constellations, and history dates it back to the Bronze Age. Taurus is one of the 12 constellations of the zodiac, first cataloged by the Greek astronomer Ptolemy in the 2nd century. In Greek mythology, the constellation associated with Zeus, who transformed himself into a bull to get close to Europa in order to abduct her. Ooh, aren't those stories from the past really interesting? And now, for what is probably the most important, well, at least for me, the jokes of the week. Slide Master, slide number 14, please. I'm sure some of you are already laughing, aren't you? The most important? Yeah, okay. Why do bulls wear bells? Because their horns don't work. Oh, come on, you've heard that one before. What's worse than a bull in a china shop? How about a hedgehog in a balloon factory? I used to be a bull rider, and I was doing really well until the guy from Walmart came out and unplugged the electricity. Where do mechanical bulls come from? They're raised on a wrench. Get it? Not a wrench, but a wrench. I used to be a worker on a ranch that kept cows and bulls, and that's really true. But the pay was utterly terrible. Utterly and terrible? Okay. What do you call a bull when it goes through a door? Adorable. Adorable. What do you call 4 bull riders standing in quicksand? Cuatro cinco. And this is KF5JJ, and this is Skynet. Slide Master, slide number 15, please. The brightest star, Aldebaran, is Alpha Tauri, and Taurus the bull, and long considered to be one of the bull's eyes. Its name, Aldebaran, is derived from the Arabic word which means the follower, and supposedly comes from the fact that the star follows the Pleiades across the sky. Aldebaran is an orange giant star, type K5, with a diameter 44 times that of the Sun. It is about 65 light years in distance and is 150 times more luminous than our Sun. Aldebaran is one of the brightest stars in the sky, which can be occulted by the moon. In fact, it is the brightest star. You know, that's when the moon can cover it up. And such occultations have been observed since ancient times. According to Burnham's Celestial Handbook, Edmund Halley studied the records of the occultation of Aldebaran and was observed in Athens in March of 509 AD. No, Halley didn't do it. He just found that it had been observed in 509 AD. More than 1,000 years after that took place, Halley concluded that the event could not have occurred unless the position of Aldebaran had been several minutes of arc further north at the time. From a comparison of his positions and for those reported in the ancient records, Halley found out that Sirius, Arcturus, and Aldebaran had measurably changed their positions since ancient times. And in 1718, Halley announced the discovery of what we now call proper motion, the movement of stars, actually. Slide Master, slide number 16. Something you can go outside and take a look up, even if you're in the city. Right now, the Pleiades star cluster, also known as M45. It's also known as the Seven Sisters. The Seven Sisters name came from the mythological account of the Seven Sisters of Atlas, who were placed in the heavens to help overcome their grief over the fate of their father, who had supported the world on his shoulders. Indeed, the brightest stars in the cluster are named after the Seven Sisters and their father. The Pleiades is one of the special classes of objects that looks better in binoculars than through most telescopes. Of course, Pleiades is easily visible with no optical aid at all. I just talked about that. The nebulosity surrounding the stars is visible, but at higher powers, you can only see part of the clusters in the field of view. That makes it easier to see, but not for most people, because you can't see all of it at the same time. In a 10-inch f5 Dob, you can view the entire star cluster at 20 power with a 62-millimeter eyepiece held at, which is a 2-inch eyepiece. But the dazzling light from the stars makes the nebulosity difficult to see. Most people like viewing the Pleiades this way because you can see the whole cluster in a wide field of view, binocular style view, or, well, 10 inches out, sure, you have to have a wide field of view. You can see many of the fainter stars, but with your eyes, probably too dazzled to see most of them because of the nebulosity. You might not be able to see the nebulosity. However, the 8-inch f10 Dynamax Cassegrain telescope, 52-millimeter eyepiece, used at about 40 power, you only shows part of the cluster. But the nebulosity is easily noticeable, particularly around the star Metropa. The entire cluster contains about 100 stars, maybe up to 150 stars, and spans spherical region in space about 14 light years in diameter. It's about 400 light years away from us. Slide Master, slide number 17, another star cluster. The Hyades, also known as Metropa 25. Hyades is a mythological, we're the half-sisters of Pleiades and the daughters of Atlas and Ephemerina. The stars in the Hyades were often associated with rainy and stormy weather in ancient times. The name itself is derived from the Greek word that means to rain. Like the Pleiades, the Hyades is better viewed in binoculars. In fact, most telescopes you can't even see but a couple of stars. So since they're in a much larger area, the Pleiades are easily made out with the unaided eye. The star cluster and Aldebaran form the distinctive V shape that marks the face of the bull. So it's the V shape of the face of the bull is the entire Hyades. Aldebaran is not a member of the Hyades, but is actually a foreground object at 65 light years away. The Hyades are over twice the distance at about 151 light years away. Hyades form the second closest open star cluster to our own solar system. The only known star cluster that's closer is Ursa Major moving group, also known as Colander 285, which is most of the stars in the Big Dipper are members. The core of Ursa Major moving cluster is about 80 light years away. Slide Master, slide number 18, please. Messier object number 1. The first object in the famous Messier catalog, M1, is the Crab Nebula, the remnant of a supernova that exploded on July 4th, 1054 AD. So almost 1,000 years have passed since the supernova explosion. The Crab Nebula is easily seen in binoculars and small telescopes, and one is an easy found in between the line of the two horns of Taurus. Tauri. Binoculars simply show a small, faint, fuzzy patch, but even in a telescope of a 3-inch class, you can see the nebula that shows some basic, lumpy, oval outline shown in photographs. Of course, much more detailed can be seen in much larger telescopes. Slide Master, slide number 19, please. Another object, NGC 1647, the Pirate Moon Cluster. Dave Hutchinson describes NGC 1647 is a nice open cluster of about 80 stars. It is easy to find since it's just 3 degrees away from Aldebaran, between the bull's horns as well, and it stands out well in binoculars or even a binder scope. It fills the lowest power field of view in a Dynamax telescope at 40 power. It reminds us of looking at the Beehive cluster in Cancer, which at 20 power in a 10-inch Dobsonian. There are a nice bright pair of stars at the southern edge of the cluster. The fainter member of the pair having a distinct reddish-orange color. These two stars are probably foreground stars since they are brighter than the cluster stars itself. And this is KF5 JHA, and this is Skynet. Slide Master, slide number 20. There are several more Astronomical League observing program objects in the constellation of Taurus the Bull. I've given you just a sampling of those objects, and the Astronomical League has, at last count, 77 different observing programs. Now, most of them have around 100 objects. A few of them have a lot more. But if you observe just 10 different objects in most of the observing programs, then, well, just one observing program, each month, then you can receive an observing certificate and a pen in about a year. Well, Slide Master, slide number 21, and that is Miss Carolyn's Constellation of the Week, Taurus the Bull. I want to thank my friends Dave Hutchinson and Dennis Harwell for the research and words on deep sky objects that I've used, borrowed, and stolen for every Skynet. I've also at times used the website constellation-guide.com for information. Now next week we'll take a look at Selim, the Chisel, and Columba, the Dove. Maybe you've never heard of those constellations. Well, we'll hopefully inform you about that. This is KF5 JHA, and this is Skynet, and it's all back to you. Brenda, good night in 73.
Thanks very much, Chaz. Next up, space launches for this week. Going to call on Tom, KE5ICX, to present that. Go ahead, Tom.
Well, thank you, Brenda. This is KE5ICX. And all this information I get comes from spaceflightnow.com/launch schedule. So we have a number of things coming up this week and the rest of the month. We've got a launch tonight, January 13th. This would be, well, 13th, 14th it says, but it actually would have been earlier this evening. I don't know if this went successfully or not. It says 7:52 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, SLC 40 from Cape Canaveral. This is Falcon 9 launch, would launch another batch of Starlink D2 mini internet satellites. First stage was supposed to land on a drone ship in the Atlantic Ocean. I don't know. Tomorrow evening, another Falcon 9 launch. This one from Vandenberg at SLC 4E. Going to be Starlink internet satellites again from Launch Complex 4 East. Falcon 9's first stage booster will land on a drone ship. Of course, I Still Love You in the Pacific Ocean. Then we have on January 17th another Falcon 9. This is the Axiom Mission 3. This will launch from Launch Complex 39A at Cape Kennedy. This will be the Crew Dragon spacecraft on its 13th flight with astronauts. Commercial mission managed by Axiom Space, commanded by former NASA astronaut Michael Lopez Algaria. 3 passengers will be Walter Day, Alper Giraviti, and Marcus will fly on this 2-week commercial mission to the International Space Station. First stage booster will return to landing zone 1 at Cape Canaveral. And we have to be determined a flight from SLC 40 at Cape Canaveral. The Falcon 9 rocket will launch Northrop Grumman's 21st Cygnus cargo freighter on the 20th operational cargo delivery flight to the International Space Station. The mission is known as NG-20. The launch vehicle for this mission was changed from Northrop Grumman's own Antares 230 Plus rocket to SpaceX Falcon 9 after Russia's invasion of Ukraine ended engine and booster production for the Antares program. We have to be determined USS F-51 launching from SOC 41 at Cape Canaveral. This Atlas V rocket, designated AV-101, will launch the USS F-51 mission for the U.S. Space Force. It has an undisclosed payload, so there's not much we can talk about. February 6th, Falcon 9 launch from SLC 40 at Cape Canaveral. This rocket will launch NASA's Plankton Aerosol Cloud Ocean Ecosystem, or PACE mission. The spacecraft is equipped with instruments to assess the health of oceans by measuring the distribution of phytoplankton, tiny plants, and algae. Then we have, let's see here, to be determined from LC-39A at Kennedy Space Center. Falcon 9 IM-1 mission with an oversea lander built and owned by Intuitive Machines. The IM-1 mission will attempt to deliver a suite of scientific payloads to the surface lunar for NASA's commercial lunar payload service program. We then have another to be determined, USS 124. This will launch from SOC 40 at Cape Canaveral. This will be a mission for the U.S. Space Force and Missile Defense Agency. No information on that one either. We have Atlas V via Sat-3 launch. This will be from SOC 41 at Cape Canaveral. The United Launch Alliance Atlas V rocket, designated AV-100, will launch the Viasat EMEA broadband communication satellite. The satellite will be a geostationary satellite for Viasat. Viasat EMEA will cover Europe, Middle East, and African regions. And finally, April 2024 will be an Atlas V launch of the CST-100 Starliner crew flight test. This will be from SOC 41 at Cape Canaveral Space Force Station, Florida. The United Launch Alliance Atlas V rocket, designated AV-085, will launch Boeing CST-100 Starliner spacecraft on its first mission with astronauts known as the crew test flight to the International Space Station. The capsule will dock at the space station, then return to Earth for landing in the western United States. NASA astronauts are Butch Wilmore and Suni Williams will fly on the mission. The rocket will fly in a vehicle configuration with two solid rocket boosters and a dual-engine Centaur upper stage. This has been delayed since August of 2020. We have Falcon 9 Polaris Dawn launch from LC-39A. This will be a crewed stage booster will land on a drone ship in the Atlantic Ocean. The Polaris Dawn mission will be commanded by billionaire Jacob Isaacman, making his second trip to space. He will be joined in an all-private mission by pilot Scott Kidd Poteet and SpaceX employees Sarah Gillis and Anna Menon. The Crew Dragon will return to a splashdown at sea. Then we have, I'm almost done. We have in April the Vulcan Centaur Dream Chaser 1 launch. This would be pretty cool. From SOC-41 Cape Canaveral, United Launch Alliance Vulcan Centaur rocket will launch on its second demonstration flight with Sierra Dream Chaser cargo vehicle to the International Space Station. Dream Chaser is a lifting body resupply spacecraft that will launch on top of a rocket and land on a runway. This will be the Dream Chaser's first flight to space. The Vulcan Centaur rocket will fly in the VC-4L configuration with 4 GEM 63XL solid rocket boosters, long-length payload fairing, and 2 RL-10 rockets on the Centaur upper stage. By the way, that was featured in our Afterglow movie towards the end. And that's it. It was a little long-winded, but there you have it. A lot of interesting manned flights coming up here very soon. Back to you, Brenda. This is KE5ICN.
Thank you, Tom. All right. Next up, recent astronomical discoveries. That's me. I'm going to read this article from ScienceDaily.com called, entitled, Astronomers Make Rare Exoplanet Discovery and a Giant Leap in Detecting Earth-like Bodies. Astronomers have made a rare discovery of a small, cold exoplanet and its massive outer companion, shedding light on the formation of planets like Earth. The findings include a planet with radius and mass between that of the Earth and Neptune, with potential orbit around its host star of 146 days. The star system also contains an outer, large companion, 100 times the mass of Jupiter. This is a rare discovery, with exoplanets smaller and lighter than Neptune and Uranus being notoriously hard to detect, with only a few being identified to this day. Such rare systems are particularly interesting. To better understand planetary formation and evolution, they are thought to be a key step for the detection of Earth-like planets around stars. The new planetary system is discovered around the star HD 88986. The star has a similar temperature to the Sun with a slightly larger radius and is bright enough to be seen by keen observers at dark sky sites across the UK, such as Banel, there's no way I can say that, National Park, Brecon Beacons. This study, published in the journal Astronomy and Astrophysics, is led by Nita Haidari, an Iranian postdoctoral fellow at the Institut d'Astrophysique de Paris, IAP. In the UK, Thomas Wilson, a senior research fellow at the University of Warwick, co-led the analysis of satellite data, including searching for new planets. The team also includes researchers at 29 other institutes from 9 countries, including Switzerland, Chile, and the USA. The planetary system includes a cold planet smaller than Neptune, a so-called sub-Neptune, HD 88986b. This planet has the longest orbital period, 146 days, among known exoplanets, smaller than Neptune or Uranus, with precise mass measurements. Nita Haidari, IAP, explained, most of the planets we've discovered and measured for their mass and radius have short orbits, typically less than 40 days. To provide a comparison with our solar system, even Mercury, the closest planet to the Sun, takes 88 days to complete its orbit. This lack of detection for planets with longer orbits raises challenges in understanding how planets form and evolve in other systems and even in our solar system. HD 88986b, with its orbital period of 146 days, potentially has the longest known orbit among the population of small planets with precise measurements. HD 88986b was detected using the SOFI high-precision spectrograph, a machine that analyzes wavelengths of light from exoplanets at the Haute-Provence Observatory, France. SOFI detects and characterizes exoplanets using the radial velocity method, measuring tiny motion variations of the star induced by planets orbiting it. These observations reveal the planet and allowed the team to estimate its mass to approximately 17 times that of Earth. Complementary observations obtained with NASA's Space Telescope Transiting Exoplanet Survey Satellite and the European Space Agency's Space Telescope Characterizing Exoplanet Satellite, CEOPS, indicate that the planet probably transits in front of its host star. This occurs when the orbit passes on the line of sight between the Earth and the star, partially occulting the star, causing a decrease in its brightness that can be observed and quantified. These observations by both satellites allowed the team to directly estimate the diameter of the planet as about twice that of Earth. The findings of the study rely on more than 25 years of observations, also including data from ESA's Gaia satellite and the Keck telescope in Hawaii. Moreover, with an atmospheric temperature of only 190 degrees Celsius, HD 88986b provides a rare opportunity for studying the composition of the so-called cold atmospheres, as most of the detected atmospheres for exoplanets are above 1,000 degrees Celsius. Due to the wide orbit of the sub-Neptune, HD 88986b, as large as 60% of the Earth-Sun distance, it probably underwent rare interactions with other planets that may exist in the planetary system, and weak loss of mass from the strong ultraviolet radiation of the central star. It may therefore have retained its original chemical composition, allowing scientists to explore the possibilities, the possible scenarios for the formation and evolution of this planetary system. Thomas Wilson, Department of Physics, University of Warwick, said HD 88986b is essentially a scaled-down Neptune between the orbits of Mercury and Venus. It becomes one of the best-studied small cold exoplanets, paving the way for studying its atmosphere to understand the similarity to our own planet Earth. It also orbits a star with a similar temperature to the Sun, making it a precursor to the Earth-like planets to be found by the Plato Space Telescope, in which Warwick plays a leading role. The astronomers also revealed a second outer companion around the central star. This exoplanet is particularly massive, more than 100 times the mass of Jupiter, and its orbit has a period of several tens of years. Further observations are needed to understand its nature and better determine its properties. Thomas Wilson added, we collected data from telescopes pointing at HD 88986 for over 25 years, making this one of the longest studied exoplanet systems. This wealth of data revealed a second outer companion more massive than Jupiter that may have been important for the formation of the Neptune-like planet in a similar way to Jupiter in our own solar system. what's next? Let's see. We have visible satellite passages over the next couple of days. Tom, K5ICX, can you help us out with this?
Yes, I can. Let's see. I don't have a ton of passes tonight, simply because it's just not as favorable as it usually is. So these passes, of course, use reflected light from satellites as they go over, and our position on Earth is not as favorable as it's been the summer months, let's put it that way. So I do have a few, though. We have the ISS pass, a couple of those. One on January 14th, it's a minus 2.1 magnitude, 1932 in the evening. It reaches its highest point 29 degrees at 1934. And it'll fall at 1934 at 29 degrees. It means it's going to shadow. 15th has a much better pass, minus 3.2 magnitude, easy to spot. 1843 in the evening, out of the west-southwest, reaches its highest point 53 degrees at 1847, falls at 1849 to the northeast. Next is the Tiangong Chinese Space Station. There is a decent pass on January 19th, minus 1.1 magnitude at 1832 in the evening. Out of the northwest, reaches its highest point at 30 degrees at 1835, and it will fall at 1837, 70 degrees in the east-northeast. January 20th is a good pass, minus 2.3 magnitude, 1907 in the evening. Out of the west-northwest, it reaches its highest point at 1910, that's at 87 degrees, almost overhead. Out of the north-northeast, and it'll fall to the east-southeast at 1911 at 54 degrees, so it will go into shadow. January 22nd is the next best pass at 1840 in the evening out of the west-northwest. It'll reach its highest point at 49 degrees at 1843, and it'll fall to the southeast at 1846. Next is the Hubble Space Telescope. This one's a little more difficult to spot, but you should be able to anyway as it's moving across the sky. January 15th, there are two passes, the better ones. The first one at 1807 in the evening. It'll reach its highest point at 1811 at 42 degrees and fall to the south at 1815. January 16th has the only other good pass that I can tell you about. That one is 2.3 magnitude at 1911. Correct. Yeah. At 1911. I lost my place. Hold on. 16th, there it is. 1931, it'll reach its highest point at west-southwest at 27 degrees at 1935 and will fall to the south at 1935 into shadow. And that's it, Brenda. That's all I could glean out of all of the possible observations for this week and over the next few days. At any rate, all this information is available at heavensabove.com. All you have to do is put in your longitude and latitude or your city. It now supports that, and then save it. And each time you go back to the site, you can either log in or it should remember your coordinates based on the browser that you're using. So back to you, Brenda. This is KE5ICX.
Thanks, Tom. This is WB5OZL. So we're running a little bit early tonight. Do we have any more check-ins at this point?
Kilo November 5, Echo, Echo, Echo.
Kilo November 5, Echo, Echo, Echo. Could I have your name, please?
Sure, name here's Al, Alpha Lima, Al.
Thanks, Al. Anybody else want to check in? Tonight. Anybody have or need any fills? Go ahead.
W5GUS.
W5GUS. Go ahead, Gus.
Thank you, Brenda. Well, not a question, but kind of an anniversary here. This date, Saturday the 13th, 1978, was the first American women astronauts were chosen by NASA. 1978, January 13th. Back to net. W5GUS.
I did not know that. That's very interesting. Thank you for that. Okay, tonight we had 20 hams participating on the air. Thanks for all who checked in this evening. We hope you'll join us here again next week and every Saturday night at 9 p.m. to discuss astronomy, space, and space exploration. On this net, the sky is never the limit. We're always looking for net control stations for this and all the other DARC nets. If you would like to try your hand at this, contact any of the net controls by sending an email to nets@w5fc.org. You can follow topics and discussions about this net and astronomy in general on Facebook and Twitter, as well as our audio and video streams, video archives, and other useful internet resources by going to w5fc.org at the conclusion of this net. Until next Saturday night, this is WB5OZL, Brenda, and I'll be closing the net at 10:18 p.m. local time and returning the repeater to normal amateur use. We have, we're a little bit early tonight, so Tom KA5ICX, tell us when we're going to start the Afterglow net.
Yeah, thank you, Brenda. We will start the net at 10:30 sharp. That's the logical time. So come on back then. Do a little extra downtime. We'll be back at 10:30. KE5ICX.
Thank you. 73, everybody, and enjoy the evening discovering the universe.
normal state.
I'm completely operational and all my circuits are functioning perfectly.
Afterglow Movie Net.
All right, I think it's time to discuss tonight's movie. Now, wish me luck. What's going on? My voice has been going in and out tonight, so we'll see how this all works out. But this is KE5ICS. Tom, I'll be your net control for tonight's Afterglow Movie Net. Tonight's movie is called The Space Between Us from 2017. Okay, now don't roll your eyes. I know this group is not one for romantic science fiction films, but maybe if you've seen it isn't all that good. It's directed by Peter Kelson, written by Alan Lowe, the story by Stuart Schill, and a bunch of other people you don't care about. The film stars Gary Oldman, yeah, that Gary Oldman. He's Butterfield, Britton, Robert Dino, and follows a teenage boy bored on Mars and traveled to Earth. See if I can get through the plot for you. This is multi-billionaire Nathaniel Shepard. Of course, you know who's playing that. That's the old CEO of Genesis launches the first mission to colonize Mars. During the journey, astronaut Sarah Elliott discovers she's pregnant. She gives birth to Gardner after landing on Mars and dies shortly thereafter. Afterwards, with the father as unknown, Gardner is kept on Mars as a secret, and they fear public relations disaster and returning to Earth could be dangerous to health. Gardner is raised by astronaut Kendra Whitman and other scientists on Mars. 15 years later, yep, happens that quickly. Geez, nothing changes in 15 years. Space looks like the same as it did the day that everybody else arrived. Gardner hacks into a robot he helps build to gain access to his mother's personal belongings. Finds a wedding ring in a video of Sarah and the man in the beach house, and convinces the man as his father. Gardner becomes determined to find him. He regularly uses the internet chat room talking to Tulsa, a street smart girl from Colorado living in the foster care system. Gardner tells her she is confined to a penthouse due to osteogenesis imperfecta, brittle bones. They discuss their plans for the future, and he promises to stay. Kendra video calls Nathaniel and Genesis director Tom Chen. Says that Gardner is extremely intelligent and wants him to be allowed to go to Earth. When he refuses, Gardner also having risky surgery to increase his bone density and train to adapt to the Earth's atmospheric pressure. He both undergoes some surgery and training against Nathaniel's wishes and boards a shuttle for Earth with Kendra and several other astronauts. When they arrive on Earth, Nathaniel is angry at Tom, who's kept Gardner's training secret. Gardner here is quarantined at NASA while undergoing medical tests to determine his fitness for life on Earth. He escapes before seeing the test through, showing he cannot live on Earth very long, and finds Tulsa convincing her to help him find his father. They're followed by Nathaniel and Kendra, who try to convince Gardner to return to NASA, but he runs away with Tulsa and learns the location of the man who married his parents, Sean and Nika. Nathaniel and Kendra learn that Gardner's body contains dangerous by the high levels of component indicated as an enlarged heart, which cannot withstand the atmospheric pressure of Earth. He must return to Mars immediately to survive. Gardner confesses his true origins to Tulsa, who does not believe him. They find Nika, who let Tulsa use his computer to locate the beach house in Gardner's video. They travel to Southern California, stopping in Las Vegas for fun, where Gardner collapses and takes to the hospital. The X-ray shows the carbon tubes with his bones, and Tulsa finally believes Gardner's claims of being born on Mars. Gardner knows he cannot survive on Earth and wants to meet his father before he dies. Tulsa helps him sneak out of the hospital and then drive to the beach house. They meet the man from Gardner's video, who is actually his uncle, not his father. Gardner thinks this is why and runs to DC, telling Tulsa that this is where he wants to die before collapsing. Nathaniel and Kendra arrive to spend time to save Gardner and pull him out of the ocean. Gardner calls Nathaniel about Sarah, realizing Nathaniel is his father. They rush him to the Dream Chaser O2 to launch into orbit, hoping this will stabilize Gardner free of Earth's gravity and he's revived. Soon after, Gardner boards a space shuttle to Mars after sharing an emotional parting with Tulsa. Kendra, who is retiring from active flight status from NASA, adopts her. Determined to join him on Mars, Tulsa joins Kendra's training program. Gardner is seen back on Mars with Nathaniel and okay, this is what we're going to do. Everybody knows the usual process here, so I think this is nothing new. I'll go ahead and take check-ins, which will be your call sign, your name, and see the film. Yes or no. You don't have to actually see it or not. We'll ask you questions about it later on, even if you haven't, because that's what we do. Then we'll talk about the plot, then the acting and characterization, and finally special effects and anything we didn't cover in the first two rounds. So let's get started. Please come with your call sign, phonetically speaking. Oh, I should know who you are, your name, and you can see the film.
KI-5, JCM, Thomas, Euless, no, short time.
This may be a short one. KI-5, JCM, Thomas, and Euless. I didn't see the film, but thank you for checking in. I do appreciate it. You know somebody that's out there. Anyone else?
Whiskey Bravo 5, Oscar Zulu Lima, Brenda in Dallas. Yes, I did see this movie.
November Tango 5, Tango Mike, Tony in Dallas. I did not see the movie.
Whiskey 5, Bacon, Lettuce, Tomato, W5BLT, Bill, Garland. Yes, I saw the movie.
Okay, let me get those three. I got WV5OZL, Brenda in Dallas. Yeah, she saw it. NT5PM, Tony in Dallas. No, he didn't see it. He's keeping plants warm. W5BLT, Bill Garland. Yes, he saw the film. Additional check-in.
Kilo, India, 5, Tango, India, Delta,
No, I did not catch the film this week.
Okay, picked up KI5T. Welcome. Can I get your name? And I do, Roger, you didn't see the film, but that's okay. Can I get your name, please?
This is Chad. We're in East Dallas.
Okay, KI5TID. That's Chad in East Dallas. And thank you for checking in. By all means, maybe I'll, before we get started, I'll tell you how you can find out about the movies. Let me do one more round before we get started. Anyone else want to check in? Okay, maybe slim pickings tonight. We may get some other check-in. So let me explain, since we got a couple of people who are new, or maybe may not have listened to Net before. We have on Facebook, you can go to Afterglow Movie. That's 2 words, Afterglow and Movie. And that is where we post the movies. You can go there and look under Guide. There's a tab in there for Guide, and it shows all the movies probably about a month in advance. So there's 4 listed currently that tell you both the link to the movie, which are always free. These are legit movies, usually with ads, sometimes not, but most of the time with ads. And you can watch the movies there ahead of time. I can also send an email to you. Just send an email to me at my call sign, which is Kilo Echo 5 India Charlie X-Ray KU5 ITX at yahoo.com. So you want to be added to the movie list. Now, I'll put you in the list, and you also get the movie sent to you, usually Sunday morning, and a link to the film. Sometimes there's more than one if it's a film that's distributed in more than one streaming website. So that's how that works. Okay, well, there's a small group of us. For those of you who did not see the movie, if you're still around when I call upon you, I'll ask you, what do you think? Does it sound like something you would want to see? Just for fun, to see if your impressions seem to coincide with the sensibilities of everyone else who has seen the film. I'm going to go in order, starting with people who have seen the movie. That would be Brenda, WB5OZL. She's at the top of the list. So, Brenda, you're first. What did you think about the plot for our fine film? What is the name of this thing? The Space Between Us. That's it. KE5ICX.
WB5OZL. That's my first complaint. That's kind of a... If you can't remember the name of it, then it wasn't catchy, and it doesn't really tell you anything about it. I think the biggest plot problem that I have is, okay, this child was... You got a toddler running around the Mars habitats, and people come and go to Mars, and nobody noticed him, I guess, or nobody told. You can't keep secrets like that. It would have gotten out. Somebody, people would have known about him, and they would have tried to investigate. So that part I thought was a little unbelievable. Many plot holes, just almost too many to talk about. However, I thoroughly enjoyed this movie. It had a lot of heart. It had, the characters were very appealing, and I just kind of liked the story. It was a sweet story. I'm not normally big on Hallmark stories, but I don't watch many rom-coms or romance things. I'm more of an adventure, action adventure, science fiction kind of person. But I did kind of enjoy it. It was a sweet story, and they made you care about the characters, and I thought that was important. It's a little grief in the end as they separate. You're a little concerned about that. It's bittersweet. But you're pretty sure they're going to get back together sometime, or maybe technology will advance to the point where they can let him live on Earth, or she'll go to Mars. I think the current feeling is nobody can stay on Mars for a long time. There's just so many problems with it, so I don't know. Maybe they'll get all that figured out. Okay, back to net, WB50ZL.
Okie dokie. Yeah, I kind of agree with you on that. Let's see, I'm going to skip Tony. Bad Tony, you didn't see our film. And go to Bill, W5BLT. Bill, you did see the film. What did you think about the plot from KE5IC?
Thank you, Tom. Yeah, there were a lot of plot holes with this, and we probably say this ad nauseum here. You have to suspend kind of a lot of your logic, or you have to roll with these things, and so all that aside, all the aside of stuff of from books I read as a kid, if you were born on a planet with lighter gravity, you'd have a real hard time walking around on Earth. And I don't remember the title of the book I read, To Earth, and he lives with these people underwater, and they have underwater habitats, and there's even people that grew gills so they could live underwater, and I can't remember the name of the book. But anyway, that was my first thought of, how's this kid moving around like nothing happened. But yeah, it's funny though, I really did like the movie. I would have liked it to be kind of a mini-series where they had the kid growing up on Mars and maybe what his life was like as a kid, and then the venturing to Earth. It was a common plot that we've seen. Kid tries to find parent, to reconnect, mom dies in delivery. We've seen that plot. They kind of put a twist on it, having it been on Mars. And it raises some questions of, if we ever did go up in space and colonize, having kids and things like that. It raises those questions. So I thought it was good for that. But I would have liked to have seen, and maybe I'll get disconnected off the air for saying this, but I would have liked to have seen it explored more and kind of been like a mini-series. So with that, I'll turn it back over to you, Tom, W5BLT.
All right, not far-fetched that, Bill, we would never disconnect you. You always have great comments, even when they're not great comments. No, they're always good comments. You always have great comments. So, but I have something to say about that as well, and because we've already explored it as a mini-series. I'll explain in a moment. But before we do, I'm going to go ahead and ask if there's any additional check-ins at this point. Anyone who would like to join us this evening, please come with your call sign. Tonight's movie is The Space Between Us, from 2017 is the movie. So if you'd like to join us, please come with your call sign, your name, and did you see the film.
Bravo 9, Sierra Oscar Kilo, Sean in Fort Worth. Yes, I've seen this movie.
Okay, I did see Sean over on Echolink, and he is there tonight. So, Sean, KB9SOK, we're on the first round, talking about the plot. So here's your opportunity. What do you think of The Space Between Us from KE5ICX?
KB9SOK. Yeah, I agree with what's been said so far. Yeah, it's basically just a Hallmark movie in space. or started out there, I guess you could say. Even right down to somebody having to wipe food off the other person's mouth, other than it's normally the guy cleaning the woman's mouth, and now it's the girl that did his. So, I mean, it definitely was clearly written by people that have written Hallmark movies. But that's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just kind of, the thing with this movie for me was, it was very predictable. It really wasn't no surprises. It was really, really easy to predict what was going to happen next. And there just really wasn't surprises. Even the whole part about that guy not being his dad, I mean, you could see that way ahead. You knew that, it was easy to figure out that it was the professor, I guess not the professor, the owner of the company. So yeah, that part was probably, to me, the most disappointing part. Not that it was really a bad movie or anything, it's just kind of super predictable. I felt that the movie was a little longer than it should have been. It seemed like it was starting to kind of drag on. I think the concept's interesting, as it was mentioned earlier about, how would we treat that, with kids growing up in space, and then, obviously them not ever come back to Earth. But yeah, there's definitely some plot holes in this, as was already mentioned, about how can you survive on a planet. Of course, they kind of sort of brought in the movie about him being exposed to all the germs on Earth. I mean, I think he would have gotten insanely sick just from that alone. Because as you know, you build those immunities as you grow up. So, there's quite a few of those. One, I really don't think that, it takes a lot to become an astronaut, and I don't think she would have ever taken a chance of getting pregnant before on such a big mission. So there's just so many things here I just don't think would have ever happened. And then the other kind of quirky thing, too, about this movie that, it seems like the cars and most of the technology around them was what we have today, but clearly, they were kind of talking about the future. They had those silly plexiglass laptops, but other than that, everything looks pretty normal. Today's technology, so yeah, it was a little odd, but it is nice sometimes just to watch a good, feel-good movie. This is definitely just a popcorn movie, just something to kick back. I was glad for a change that we did have a happy ending. Today it seems like filmmakers always feel like they need to have, sad endings these days, and you end up being unsatisfied. So I was happy to see that obviously he survived, and obviously his love interest was, going to become an astronaut and eventually be up there with him. So yeah, it was okay. It was, I didn't mind it at all. So, it was an okay movie. I did somewhat enjoy it, and I don't regret seeing it. I think it was decent. So, anyway, that's all I got. Back to that. KB9, that's okay.
Okay, thank you, Sean. Yeah, I don't disagree with you. All right, I'll make my comments on the plot. One thing, and this is maybe a technical thing, but as we even discussed this during the movie, some of us watched the movie on Friday at 8 o'clock, and make comments along the way, and this was brought up during our comments, and that is that because of the distance between Earth and Mars, communications is delayed by, 12 minutes or something, 12, 15 minutes, something like that. So you can have real-time communications, and that's what they had during this, because that's what the chat room had, that's what the video conversations were, and things like that. And I thought that just ignoring that was a bad idea. I think it would have been a great idea to go ahead and have that delay, however long it is, because then the messages would be one way, and you had to express your feelings in that one-way communication, and you could express your feelings back the other way, maybe have some thoughts about what it is you heard, and think about, because you can't respond, so it'd be a visual thing, and then respond back. You could have long text back and forth. Be the only way that you could get your message across, full thoughts, is by actually composing what is in essence an old-style letter transmitted across space to these recipients. So that alone I thought would have been really interesting and really brought up a kind of a novel, but his traditional way of communicating. And how many long-distance romances occurred that way? Lots! So I think that was a lost opportunity, personally, because this sort of thing would be just another internet experience that anybody would have, and I know that that's what they were trying to do, saying that he could possibly, that he just any other. Nobody knows you on the internet that you're a cat or that you may be from Mars. And I suppose that's okay, but that's kind of different stuff. Now, as mentioned, talking about, that could your character be, growing up on Mars? Well, I'll keep this short because I think it goes into maybe characterization, but I'm not sure if there's plot characterization. But, we've had that. What's one of my favorite guilty pleasures? Lost in Space. Which, by the way, in case anybody doesn't know, has been done 4 different times. 4 versions, the original, and then 3 reboots. There was an unaired TV movie that is available online. You can go and see it. It was meant for CW channel, I think, something like that. And of course, Will Robinson is the kid in space that is separated from everyone else and other kids. And he is the super brain, and that occurs in all 4 versions of this thing. The original TV series, the rebooted series, and the 2 movies. So you get that there. And I agree. I think that would have been interesting as a series, and certainly you could use Lost in Space as a method to do that. Another thing, too, is that how do you hide them? I agree, absolutely. You can't hide somebody. We even saw that there were monitor cameras on throughout the colony, so it's not like you couldn't spot him at some point. There's got to be monitors. There are people doing security, both on the station and also on Earth, I would assume, to make sure there'd be no accidents. Also, consumables and supplies. How are you going to hide all that? It's impossible to hide that, and for so many years. And by the way, the base didn't change all that much. It looked the same as it did 16 years later. Not a change, not a thing changed. Even the dust was in the same place. So were the plants. So I don't know. That seems highly unlikely. As far as a love story, I didn't mind it. I thought it was entertaining. I mean, it takes you back in time. You think about those things and kids do. Some of the things were a bit far-fetched. It threw a little bit of, what was it? I don't know, the one where the astronauts were about presumed dead. And they go in pursuit of them. You got the biplane and everything else. We even had a biplane, which I think is exactly what they were trying to do, reproduce a little bit of that. So that was a bit much. And stealing the cars and nobody's bothering to report them stolen. And the only people looking to find them, of course, is Gary Oldman, the other astronaut. How are people not going to know about this? The answer is there's no way they can not know. The twist ending was okay. I thought that was great, rather than being his father. It turns out it's his uncle. That was rather interesting. And then finally a happy ending at the end. And I agree with his comment, but it is nice, as Sean says, it's nice to have a happy ending every once in a while. We've had so many abysmal endings, and sort of our national psyche right now is kind of negative and divided, and that it's nice to have something where people have a happy conclusion and things go well. We could use more of those stories. I think maybe we wouldn't be so cynical as individuals day and age, hyperconnectivity, what having a movie that has a happy, positive ending is kind of nice, refreshing thing. I think that was all good. I kind of liked the Mars part, though. It was rather interesting. There's technical aspects, I guess, as well, but the base is so gigantic. They got a lot of wasted space, a lot of oxygen that they got to provide, a lot of this and a lot of that. Why they make those things so gigantic, I don't know, except maybe push cameras through and make it not seem like a submarine, but indeed these habitats would be relatively small by comparison. I don't know, unless they maybe use some of the technologies that we've been talking about. There was also a comment, and this, I guess, a technical aspect too. All that radiation, I would have killed them all. These people would have to essentially live underground and protected from the radiation. There's no magnetic field to protect anyone to speak of, so you're going to end up dying from radiation. Sorry, it's just the way it is. And that would have worked for the, Hallmark movie where everybody dies from radiation just at the end. But they're happy. Okay. All right, that's my blabbing on about that. So let me see. We can begin at the top. Let me go ahead and see if Thomas is still there. I think he said he was short-timed. But I'll see. KI5JCM. If you're still out there, Thomas, what do you think? Is this a film you would want to see? On KE5I2. Okay, he did say he had to be seen a short time, so you are dismissed, Thomas. Next is, let's go to Brenda, WB5OZL. Brenda, what do you think about the characterization and acting in our movie, The Space Between Us, KE5I2?
Okay, this is WB5OZL. I want to circle back to one thing. I was very disappointed in the Gary Oldman character, that he knew he had this child on another world, and he didn't take responsibility for it, either financially or emotionally. I think he should have owned up to it and done whatever he could to make sure that child was supported. You wonder about the future of this kid. He grows up, he can't leave. Is he enslaved? All he has to do is learn stuff. But as he gets older, he's going to need to make a living and find his own destiny, which is pretty limited there on the Mars colony. So, but I was glad in the end that Gary Oldman's character, went with him and had a relationship with him. Now, I am a huge fan of Gary Oldman, huge. But you almost always see him as a crazy person or an evil person. And to see him as a reasonably normal guy was a little disconcerting. It just like, this doesn't fit. This is Gary Oldman. What's up with this? But of course, he always does a good job of acting. Everybody else was unknown to me anyway, but I thought they were well cast and did a good job. They were believable, and pretty much they were watchable. I loved this movie, but the world didn't. It got lots of really bad reviews. I mean, really bad ones. It lost a bunch of money. I'm a little perplexed by that. There's so many mediocre movies that just do fine. I don't know why people were so against this. It wasn't that, they just didn't, just didn't appeal to them. They really didn't like it. And I'm not real sure why. So, let me do some reading on it and see what kind of perspective people had on it, that they disliked it so much. Yeah, I agree with, I think it was Bill made a comment, this would be a great series. You watch this kid grow up and all the different experiences that he would have growing up on a space or Mars station. A lot of opportunities for stories there. Okay, back to net, WB5OZL.
All right, thank you, Brenda, and good comments. I will call on Tony if he's still around. Tony, NT5TM. Tony, you didn't see the film. Do you feel like you missed out? Are you still there? Are the plants warm? Is everything okay? From KE5I6.
Well, hey Tom, we're alive and so far unhurt. More and more the plants are warm, but it's just an amazing amount of work we have to do for a long, hard freeze like this. I don't know. I have to say that although it doesn't sound awful, I would probably, to me it sounds forgettable, and so I will probably give it a pass. I'm glad it wasn't worse, but it just doesn't sound sufficiently original or engaging to make me want to take time out and watch it when there's so many better choices. NT5TM.
Yeah, I would agree with you. Well, you saved yourself 2 hours out of your busy life to take care and save lives, save plant lives, to save lives. So kudos to you. You have to feel bad about the fact that you escaped this one. Okay, next up is Bill, W5BL3. Bill, what do you think of characterization and the acting in our fine film, The Space Between Us, from KE5I6?
Well, one thing I will say, maybe Tony should look at hydroponics. I like the kid and the girlfriend in the movie, and of course the uncle, and of course you always had the people chasing him. Of course they were concerned about him, and when they found his heart being enlarged. So I mean, they're not memorable. Like, they're not anything that I would like say, oh yeah, I want to go have maybe a sequel. That's where I think they missed some opportunity. But I grew up with the Martian Chronicles and Edgar Rice Burroughs books on Mars and things like that, and so Mars has always intrigued me, and living on Mars, and so maybe that's I wanted to kind of get a little more out of that. But the characters, they were your standard. There wasn't anybody that I thought did a bad acting job or anything like that. It really, this kind of reminded me of characters you'd see in an 80s movie when we sit down in front of the TV, because, we didn't have iPhone or Android phones to click through and read mindless posts. In that sense, the characters and the way it was portrayed with the movie and the characterization, it just kind of took me back to watching something in the 80s. I could have seen this being done in the 1980s. And so maybe for the nostalgia is why I like the characters. W5BLT.
Analysis. Thanks, Bill. Chad, KI5PID. Chad, I call upon you. What do you think? Is this a movie that you would watch? Does it sound like anything that you may have encountered before? Does this plot sound familiar? And would you sit through it again would you sit through this for the first time if you had the opportunity? From KE5I6.
Well, this is KI5TID. I think from what I've heard, I would definitely give it a watch and see. Sounded a bit interesting. Space movie with a Hallmark take. I'm interested. It sounds like the reviews are a little bit mixed, but I would definitely take a look. KI5TID.
All right, thank you, Chad. I will tell you this, and I can bolster your comments from this. We've read through on critical reception, and of course, critical reception was, oh, it's a Hallmark movie. In essence, that's not what they said, that it was a Hallmark movie. They didn't call it out by name. It's not, but it sure acts and feels like one. But what was interesting was the people that did watch the film, they got a very high rating. That the common person who went to see it, which would be us, liked it. So who's to say? All right, next up is Sean, KB9SOK. Sean, your comments on characterization and acting from KE5ITX.
They got some more support from NASA. For one, they could have got the science much better, and two, it would have been an opportunity once again to promote this. You know, obviously we're still trying to get to Mars, so yeah, they could have probably used that. And I really like the idea you had there, Tom, with the time delay. I never even thought about using that to the advantage of the story. Yeah, I remember talking last night about it on there about, yeah, there'd be a time delay, but yeah, that would have been an interesting twist. And then on everybody's comment about this being more of a, maybe like a Netflix series or something, where you see, you know, the kid grow up and then his communication between him and the girl over, you know, multiple episodes as he grew up, that might have been probably more interesting. And then maybe more of a twist instead of him coming down there, she'd go up to him. But yeah, I mean, the character's just okay, you know. The acting was, I thought, good. You know, yeah, we only really had two names in here. You know, that were what I consider stars, Gary, and then the kind of the mom figure of the boy. You know, she's been in a lot of stuff, but yeah, both of them are good actors. So yeah, not much more to say on that part. So yeah, back to that. KB9 is okay.
All right, thank you, Sean, for comments on that one. Let me see my comments here. I'm just verifying something from our actors here. I was trying to determine one of our actors here. I don't think he was in the movie. I'll have to look and see. But at any rate, Gary Oldman playing an ordinary character. Yeah, it is unusual. He usually plays the crazy. There are unusual characters like Churchill. He played Dr. Smith in the movie version that came out in 1996, I think. So he had that going for him. And of course, other roles that were colorful. So he was playing more of a conventional role in this. But I didn't like his character for the same reason that Brenda didn't like him. I think she mentioned is that, you know, you don't just take ownership of your kid up and then suddenly he has a change of heart and everything's okay. It just doesn't make any sense. That was the one thing I didn't particularly like. It sort of reminded me of Roy from Close Encounters of the Third Kind, that he decided he was going to get on a spaceship and leave, and he left his whole family behind. He never even looked back, figuratively or literally. Oh well, I'm flying off into space. Even Steven Spielberg said he made a mistake, that after he had a family that he would never have let Roy do that in the way that he did. Well, this movie did the same thing. It was kind of poor kid's left to his own devices and left to suffer, and then the father suddenly decides, hey, I'm your best bud now, I get it. And it didn't make a lot of sense to me. I suppose theoretically it could happen, but I just don't see that. It doesn't work for me story-wise or character-wise. People to me just wouldn't act in that way. And with the 16-year time frame, the difference between it, that was a bit awkward, I thought, as well. However, I have to say, this Asa Butterfield, who played the boy, I thought he did a really good job. I played Elliot. I thought that he did a decent, or Gardner. He played a role quite well. He was likable and sympathetic, and I actually was kind of feeling bad when he goes out to the water and he's going to go and kill himself. And geez, talk about being lonely. That he really delivered that quite well. The girlfriend, Kendra, not as much, but I think it wasn't the acting so much as the character. Her character was, streetwise and knew a lot of different things, but almost to the point where it was on the edge of annoying. Now, the good news is that when the two of them were together, overall, they were likable. I think they had good chemistry. So I could see where her character could it's just a half a millimeter more and she would have been annoying. She was just on this side of likable. But it wasn't the actress. It was, I think, the character. And I think overall it still played pretty well, and I think that's why it was successful. And we generally are giving it a thumbs up as well. The two of them, their chemistry was quite good. Other characters, nobody really to mention. The B.D. Wong character, or person, I've seen him in other things. He played Doctor Strange in the Gotham series. He was quite fun in that. He's done some other roles, pretty much playing the same character he always does. But that's okay. He did fine. So he was one person I recognized, and nobody else I recognized. Overall, not too much to report as far as characterization elsewhere. Okay, well, let's see here. Let me go ahead and pause and see if there's anybody else out there that wants to check in. If anybody else wants to check in, please come with your call sign now. Tonight's movie is The Space Between Us from 2017. Love story between Mars and Earth. Okay, hearing none, I guess it's going to be a fast one tonight, our final round. This one has to do with the technical aspects of the film and kind of covered some of the really hard notches in science fiction-based film. A lot of the technical things show up early and discuss them simply because they impact the story or the sensibilities of the show. It can be so disconcerting in some ways that it just wrenches you out of the moment of watching the film. Like 5551212 for a phone number wrenches you out of reality. Wrenches you back to reality, I should say. So, this round, anything you want to talk about, technical, music, photography, technical aspects, other technical aspects of the film, or something that you may have missed from the earlier rounds that you would like to discuss. I'm going to start with Brenda, WB5OZL. Brenda, your final comment.
This is WB5OZL. Well, there were some great visuals. I thought all the Mars scenes were wonderful. and all the spaceships and everything. That was just fabulous. The thing with the old airplane was a little unbelievable. I've never jumped out of a moving plane or car like that, but I think you probably break some bones. And here's a kid who's fragile anyway. He jumps out of this airplane and then dusts himself up, goes running again. And I just thought that whole thing was a little bit contrived. You know, you're not sure whether she knew how to fly the plane or not. I didn't understand. She's in foster care. Was she's with this ne'er-do-well drunk? How does he get in the foster care system? I did not get that. They do inspections, and I know it's not necessarily the best environment in the world for kids, but that was a really bad one for her. The kid seemed, you know, the whole fish out of water thing leads for some interesting lines and funny things, but I don't think he would have been all that naive and innocent. He lived with people, you know, he had normal relationships with them. He had access to the entire world or universe on his computer, and he acts like he was raised on wolves or something, like he didn't know what to do in any case. And I'm sure he must have seen lots of movies, so I just really wasn't buying that. Let's see, what else? Well, a lot of pretty scenery. It was very beautiful. And they did a lot of location shots that were nice. I like that. Well, that's about all I have to say. WV50ZL, back to net.
Okie dokie, thank you, Brenda. And yeah, I agree with you. Next is Bill, W5BLT. Bill, your final thoughts, technical aspects of the film, and or anything that we haven't covered so far that you'd like to discuss from KQ5ITX.
All right, W5BLT. Well, you know, I can't comment on the scenery, but everything sounded realistic. I have to say I agree about the plane, too. It was kind of odd that they could fly the plane and then land it and he's running. That was kind of strange as well. You know, the only other thing I'll say is I was just thinking about growing up as a kid, and a friend of mine and I, we planned how we were going to go to Mars and terraform it. And we spent days, maybe weeks, talking about this, and I had all my notes in Braille, and of course, you know, years went by, and then I went off to college, and I don't know whatever happened to those Braille notes. I think they got tossed, but it would have been fun to look back on those. But anyway, I thought the music actually was not too bad. I liked this movie more than I thought I would. When I first read the description and kind of on, you know, the storyline on the movie reviews, I thought, okay, I'm not going to like this movie, but I liked it better than I thought I was going to. So that's all I have. Thanks as always to everybody. Again, you fill in a lot of gaps that I miss being totally blind here, so I do appreciate that a lot. W5BLT.
All right, thank you, Bill. And our unofficial comment at the end of the film last night, sometimes we had some folks who did not check in. I think it's just too late at night. We have a crowd that actually watches the movie together on Friday evening, and then we have the group on Saturday that watches it whenever they watch it, and then they check in on this net. And those two groups are not always the same. And so that group last night came back and said exactly what you did, that I didn't think I was going to like it, and I did. And I'm kind of scratching my head as to why, but we all made the same comments. It was somewhat engaging. The characters engaging. I think the characters are what helped it. I really do. The main characters made it work. And you know, we're old farts, old people. Young love like that, you kind of go back and you think about your own beginnings and things like that, and what it meant, and first date, and all of that. You kind of get that feeling again, in somewhat of an innocent mood, trying to figure it all out. I think that probably is what works, even though you know you're going to be in for that sort of thing. It still kind of brings out that vibe, I think. All right, I'm going to go down to Sean, KB9SOK. Sean, you get the final say on all of it. Well, we'll have another informal round after this, but what say you about special effects, music, or anything that we haven't covered so far from KB5IC?
KB9SOK. Yeah, no, I agree with what's been said. The scenery was nice. I think they did a pretty good job of showing, you know, Mars, the outside shots of Mars. So they definitely put some effort into it. But on the flip side, you know, technical aspects and, you know, just the unbelievably parts that they, you know, that clearly weren't scientifically possible. That part, I think, was the biggest negative of this film. You know, they really, you know, the technical part kind of hurt it, and it's unfortunate because they did obviously put some effort in trying to make it look like it. And you know, as you already mentioned, Tom, about the whole, you know, thing being the size of a luxury hotel. I thought the same thing last night watching too. It's like they do this in every movie, either the spaceship or, you know, they show these habitats. They're always just huge, you know. And as you said, in real life they would make them as small as possible. It'd be more like a submarine. But as your point, probably for filming it wouldn't be very much fun to do that. But you know, I've seen marine movies that were good, so I don't know. You know, it'd just be nice if they get the technical part more accurate. But as it's already been said, really what made this film good was the characters. You know, you did care about the people. You know, yeah, this is not one of those giant movies you're going to probably think about for years to come, but you know, it was enjoyable to watch because of the characters, and that's what makes the movie. It just would have been, I think, even better had they got those technical parts, and maybe that's why the movie. So, you know, I would recommend people watch it if especially since you watch it for free. Would I go pay $15, you know, at the theater, or take a date and spend $30? Probably not. but for free, I think it's definitely worth watching. So, yeah, it's fun. Looking forward to the next one. Back to that, KB9SOK.
Okay, Sean, your wish is my command. I'll tell you as soon as I finish my comments here. Let's see. Probably nothing else to add to this. I suppose, yeah, the travel across America thing is okay. That's been done to death, so I didn't feel that was a requirement. I think that they would have been better served if, and I guess this goes back to some of the plot points, it would have been better served to just talk about, you know, what he did on Mars would have been more interesting to me initially, and how their romance might have developed over time. And some of my, you know, writer wannabe and boy genius is you know, develop those characters a little more on the front end rather than on the back end, although the back end is important. But the road show that they went on, while colorful and interesting to look at, really didn't serve a huge purpose. I don't know. It mattered that there was an interplay between the two characters, and that was fine. But it didn't have to be. They could have done all of this in like a backlot at Universal or something, and we got the same result without spending a ton of money. But I guess, music was good. I checked the composer. Nobody I know. Very serviceable score. It actually had some neat melodies to it, so I was okay with that. Visually, the picture was good. They provided flashbacks and water, a little bit of that. The flying was reasonably good. I thought that was okay, although unnecessary once again. But I think the film had it there. But it was an okay film. I'll give it a B+. Okay, I'm going to open it up to everybody who is checked in, or even anybody who isn't. Does anybody have any additional comments they want to make before I tell you about next week's movie? Please come and call now.
NT5TM.
Tony, you get the final word. Go ahead.
Well, after listening to everybody, this is a movie I will probably always be too busy to see, but, if I can't go outside because it's 10, or if I'm sick, or it's raining or snowing, maybe I'll give it a chance. I'm not going to give up on it completely. People seem sufficiently happy with it that, maybe I'll give it a try sometime. NT5TM.
All right, Tony. Well, you may have that grand opportunity. I think you're off on Monday. You can watch it then, or tomorrow when it's freezing. I don't know. Okay, here we go. Next week's movie. Are you ready for this? Write this down. This is the actual name to the movie. It came out in 2018. It's called This Giant Paper-Mache Boulder is Actually Really Heavy. Indeed, that is the name of the movie. And it looks like, and it is a kind of a science fiction film. The poster that they're showing is a rip-off of the Star Trek The Motion Picture poster with the prism multi-light red to blue thing that you saw and reflecting off the spaceship. Does the same thing, except it's a really dorky spaceship. And it's a comedy, obviously. Brief sci-fi geek that transports into the 1950-something to a 1960s space clip and find the courage to fight their way back to the real world. And I saw a little bit of it. It looks like it could be fun. I don't review or watch these movies ahead of time unless I've seen them before, and they just happen to cross my view, in case I can't unsee them. But this one I did some really cursory look at. It looks like it could be kind of fun, but we will find out. All that's available. Just go to Afterglow Movie as you all do, or check your emails in the morning. I'll send you my wonderful synopsis. Judge for yourself. So that's it. That's all I got. And I want to thank everybody for checking in tonight. We're a half hour early, but I suspected it might be late this evening. So we'll see you here next week. Same bad time, same bad channel. Thank you, everybody. Have a good evening. See you later. Probably watch Lost in Space tonight. Early first season episode, which is reasonably good. See you later. KT5.